The interview on yesterday's show was Janet Napolitano, the Secretary of Homeland Security. It was a year ago that the extremism and radicalism branch of the intelligence part of her department put out their report on right-wing extremism. They did one on left-wing extremism too, but no one much noticed that because conservatives were so outraged that Homeland Security would analyze the threat of right-wing extremist, white supremacist, and violent anti-government domestic terrorism that they ignored the left-wing report and demanded apologies for the right-wing one. They started even proudly calling themselves not just extremists, but even terrorists.
I want to say that I'm a proud right-wing terrorist.
Big applause. That man was speaking at an event with Republican California Congressman Wally Herger. Herger's response was, and I quote, "Amen, God bless you, there's a great American."
Amen, God bless you, there's a great American.
Liberty Counsel, which is affiliated with Jerry Falwell's Liberty University, also started marketing an "I'm proud to be a right-wing extremist" ID card that they encourage people to carry in their wallet. I'm proud to be a right-wing extremist. This I'm proud to be a right-wing extremist group is hosting an event at Liberty University tonight and tomorrow. It's called the Freedom Federation. A number of the speeches at that event have a revolution theme. Among the speakers is the faith healer who we introduced you to on Monday's show. I won't play sound of her again because we heard from a lot of people who found her too upsetting to hear. Another speaker is Lou Engle, who we have covered at some length on this show. Here's Mr. Engle waxing poetic about martyrdom at an event that was just last November.
Even under martyrdom, God, give me the grace. Fasting, 12 hours of prayer. These are seeds of martyrdom. Days are coming when we're going to have to risk our lives to stand for truth in this society. Say, lift your voice and say, God, mark me now. Mark me as a man and a woman of the cross of Jesus Christ. Say, mark me.
So great is the need for Christian martyrdom on the specific issue of abortion, according to Pastor Engle, that he says it may be cause for a second American Civil War.
600,000 men died on the battlefields of America, and if God required it for slavery, what will it mean if God requires it for America, for the bloodshed of 50 million babies?
Yeah, can't we just please get some bloodshed in the abortion debate in this country, people? Can't we? So today, it is the Let's See Some Christian Blood guy, Lou Engle, being hosted at Jerry Falwell's school by the maker of the proud right-wing extremist ID cards. Their big headline speaker at this event is the Attorney General of Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli, capping off a busy week for him, actually. His last event was speaking to a march on the state capitol in Richmond by people with guns. And before that, this past weekend, Mr. Cuccinelli appeared at this Tea Party event alongside this speaker.
At times, you're going to have to stand against the tide. I had to do that in 2007 when about 80% of the General Assembly voted for a statute that set up unelected taxing authorities. I stood up in the House of Delegates floor and I said, folks, our forefathers were shooting people like you.
Virginia Republican lawmaker Bob Marshall speaking at an event with that state's Attorney General. Americans have a long history of being bombastic and aggressive and over the top and hyperbolic even in our opposition to the other side in politics. We are not a country that's ever wanted or needed to put bumpers in the lanes to try to make our discourse polite or boring. We are excitable people. We get excited about politics. We use over-the-top language. And we can do all of that without threatening to shoot people, without threatening violence against the Americans with whom we disagree, without threatening violence against the government, without threatening that Christians' blood must run in America's streets to stop abortion, without threatening that people on the other side of a debate in a state legislature now are the same as people we are glad who were shot in the Civil War, without threatening that our next peaceful march will actually be an armed insurgency. Elected officials and institutions that say those things and legitimize them and celebrate extremism as if it's something to be proud of have recent violent American history to grapple with. As you know, this upcoming Monday, we're airing a documentary about the worst instance of domestic terrorism in our country's history, the bombing of the federal office building in Oklahoma City 15 years ago by Timothy McVeigh. Here's a brief preview of that documentary. The images you'll see here of McVeigh are computer simulations. The voice is actually his, recorded in prison in tapes that have never before been broadcast. Here he explains why he chose the specific date of April 19th for the bombing.
1775, the spark that started the American Revolution.
So that was another grandiose way of saying how important his actions are to those in the world compared to everyone else's. His actions mark him a place in history. He matters.
People have compared Oklahoma City to Pearl Harbor. As far as the impact of the psyche on the American people, that it was a surprise, it was a shock to the nation, all that. One of the chief intentions of it was the same as dropping the bomb on Hiroshima. And what was that? To hit them hard, by surprise, and heavily, and say, listen, if you don't knock it off, there's more of this to come.
The McVeigh Tapes documentary airs Monday, this hour, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on MSNBC. We'll be right back.